You're listening to Sips of Sanity, your toolkit for emotional and intuitive intelligence, or what we like to call the dirty work. Let's do it.
Hi, Kelly.
Hi.
Hello, patrons. So we are on our fifth and final day. Welcome to Friday. And today we're going to talk about creating emotional safety in our relationships. And the first point we want to make today is creating and having full transparency in our relationships, which means that we are showing up with absolutely no intention of hiding anything from the other person. No desire to.
So what does that mean to have full transparency when you don't have 7 levels of intimacy?
Well, if level 2 is an appropriate level to have in a relationship with a particular person, then that's fine.
Okay, so we're not withholding.
I see what you're getting at.
I really want people to understand here. Full transparency does not mean that you have to bear all to everyone.
No, you don't.
We still want levels of intimacy that are appropriate. We still want boundaries being in place that are appropriate, right? And transparency means that we are showing up and being honest, right? We're not hiding anything intentionally. We don't have an ulterior motive that we're trying to bury or get around.
Okay, then let's move to another one. Another way to create emotional safety in a relationship is to not bring judgment to the table, bring open-mindedness instead, and a willingness to listen to the other person. And I mean with sincerity.
Yeah, so judgment, I think let's explore that a little bit more. Like where you're going to make someone personally responsible for something that is just, I'll say out of bounds, right? Like there's a difference between being able to discern with information and then judging an individual for who they are. So we can come into a conversation with someone and discern right from wrong. That's a healthy kind of judgment, right? But we're not saying, oh, well, if they're choosing something wrong, I'm now judging you as a person, right? We're actually showing up in a transparent way to have a conversation to maybe explore that a little bit more, right? To be able to say, okay, so in these two choices, why did you gravitate towards that? Or can you walk me through an explanation of that? There's a desire to, it goes back to active listening, understand, so that you're not holding a judgment or going back to Wednesdays, holding someone in contempt for something, right? You're showing up to, like you said, be open and discern what needs discerning.
That's great. And another thing that we can look for in to build emotional safety in a relationship is holding ourselves accountable in that relationship. Showing up for the other person to say, okay, I'm accountable to do my own work. For an example, maybe I've identified that I'm not a good listener. And so accountability for me may look like, okay, so I went and I found some podcasts, or I bought a book, or I've been listening to some YouTube videos, or whatever it is that you're doing to learn how to be a better listener. So I'm showing up saying, okay, I was accountable to getting my own tools. I did them. I'm working on them. And I'm showing up as a better listener now. Instead of, I'm not a good listener and you know that about me. So, you might have to repeat yourself 2 to 8 times. We don't know how many.
So we're saying be personally responsible.
Yes, 100%. Okay, we've got 2 left. How about we tackle giving the other person the benefit of the doubt?
Okay.
And again, that goes back to active listening, I think, because it means that if we're giving them the benefit of the doubt, it means that we've built a rapport together. I understand and trust who you are. And so I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to be an active listener and engage and let you come forth, and I'm going to listen. Instead of I'm going to come in and I'm going to accuse, and then you're going to have to go on the defensive. That's never going to make you feel emotionally safe if I'm ever putting you on the defensive. But if I approach it and go, hey, I know you well enough to know who you are and what you're like. This doesn't sound like you, or maybe it is. Something happened perhaps. Go ahead and explain it.
Yeah, and I want to kind of draw or illustrate the difference between giving someone the benefit of the doubt and attacking or accusing and blaming, okay? Because they don't actually look very different, but they feel very different. So if this is a great relationship, you and I. So if I hear something out in the public that you've said something about me, and I think, oh, interesting. Giving you the benefit of the doubt doesn't mean that I don't address it with you. It means I come home and I say, hey, here's what I heard out in public. Can we talk about it? Can you, it can be a number of different things. Can you tell me why I might have heard that? Can you tell me why that might be circulating? Do you know anything about this? Right? So I can ask a lot of questions in a calm, collected tone where I am intentionally seeking to understand. And it all has to do with intention. If I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt, the questions are coming from a place of, hey, can we clarify something that I heard? Not defend it. Right? If I am an attacker or an accuser and blamer, I'm going to show up and go, so-and-so said you said this about me. And I'm going to leave you to infer that you have to defend yourself. Right? Now, I could also walk in and say, tell me why I might have heard about that. Tell me why that might be circulating out there. I'm still giving you an energy of defend yourself. Right? So when you build emotional safety, or how you can build an emotional safety, is to say, hey, I heard some things. Can we discuss them? I'm here giving you the benefit of the doubt. I'm here because that's what I want to do in this relationship. So can we clarify things together?
And I sit there and go, that's what you want in the relationship because you want this relationship. So then I can come in and go, I am safe to share my version of that. Whatever it is, or whether I know about it or I don't, or I participated or I didn't, it doesn't matter. What I am actually, it becomes a little bit more irrelevant. What I'm actually seeing is and feeling is that you have a desire that we are important and that us working this out and collaborating and figuring it out together is doable. Because now if I did do something over here, regardless of what it is again, and say it did get back to you that way, and now I need to apologize, then I can. Then I'm not scared to. Then I'm not feeling defensive to. Then I'm not maybe trying to avoid it or trying to attack you back so that I can get a one-up on you so I don't have to. And now I'm not trying to engage in any kind of games. I am simply sitting here saying, wow, I matter to this person. This relationship matters, me, us together. And this person and I are what matter the most, not all of the other stuff that happened out there.
Yeah, and I know you said we only have 2 things left to discuss, but I'm going to throw a third in here before we get to the final one, which is what you just talked about, is keeping the end goal at the forefront of the conversations or the conflict, right? So it may, and you can sprinkle this in and use these all together, it may involve you having to say, or me coming home in this example and saying, hey, this is the most important relationship in my life. I want you to remember that. I need to confront something that I heard out in the public today. Can you talk to me about why this is circulating? I'm still here giving you the benefit of the doubt, knowing that I want this relationship to last above anything else. Let's talk. Right? And I think a lot of people get very scared when the end result is not actually explicitly communicated, right? Both of you kind of can get into a rut, whether it's significant other, whoever, that any presentation of confrontation is immediately a threat to the ultimate relationship. Instead of identifying, they're bringing this to my attention so that we can remain on a team. Right? And it's okay that you forget that. Your system is being activated to say, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, survive, right? Do not risk abandonment. And so we behave accordingly. But if you can verbalize at the top of the conversation, I want to come out this on the same team, and here's what I heard, then we can de-escalate our system and actually stay in a connective state.
Yes, because you're saying The togetherness, the relationship is the focus.
Yeah.
Which is what you said at the very beginning. I'm just reiterating what you said at the beginning. That's the most important thing to both of you, not to one of you.
Yes. Okay, so hit us with your last one.
Okay, and so our last point today then is to acknowledge and apologize.
Yeah.
As soon as you know you should.
Mm-hmm. And you've touched on this in some other examples in some of the scripts that we've given people, but it is a whole step unto itself, right? And that doesn't mean it's the end of the conversation. Some people still need to be heard. Some people still need, time to explain more of the effect that they're experiencing.
That's a good point.
Acknowledge and apologize is not how you wrap it up and tie it into a nice bow. It might be 2/3 of the way through the conversation. That might be just 1/4 of the way through the conversation, and it still needs to go through different processes, but it's still a key piece.
Yeah, I like that you point that out, because sometimes some people think, once I've apologized, why do you keep bringing it up?
Yeah, and it's like, well, because we all process things in different ways. So we need to figure out, going back to our thoughts, our feelings, our selves, we need to know what we need in a conversation to have that emotional security be built. So if I say to you, no, I understand you've apologized when I told you 2 things that upset me, but I have 5 here. And just because you apologize for the first 2 doesn't mean it absolves you of the other 3. I still need to work through this with you. I still need you to understand what happened from my lens.
Oh, I think that's great, Kelly.
And I mean, really, if someone is trying to rush you and say that blanket apology should cover all of the things that you haven't talked about yet, then they haven't offered you sincerity. And sincerity is another piece to emotional safety, right?
Oh, yes, absolutely. And I like how you're pointing that out, that it's your responsibility not to rush the other person through a process if you're going to create emotional safety in a relationship, because you think you're the one that's done with it.
Yeah, because there will always be a conflict where one of you finishes first, and not because you won, because you've processed it faster. And you need to understand that at some point you will be the one who crosses the finish line second. And you would want, I would hope, that person to have as much grace and compassion for you when you're still processing things as you did for them, right? When they were second.
I want to point out too that some people think that they got done first, because they like to get through something quickly, and they're not. They might actually find out from their partner that they say it, but they don't.
Yeah, and a lot of people who fall into the pleasing category, who say, oh yeah, no, it's okay, I forgive you, think they've crossed it first, and in fact have not, and are actually the ones who are rushing the process, where someone else might actually want to show up and say, hey, I'd like to explain to you how I see I hurt you. And they're like, no, it's fine. And you're the one shutting down emotional security.
Okay, thank you very much, Kelly. So that wraps up our entire week of what emotional safety looks like in a relationship.
Happy September.